How do you know the adjustment for anything that we do in appraisal? There are so many ways to go about a potential issue.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
I can't believe we've stooped so low as to be talking about cat pee today, but that's where we're at. Welcome back to the most listened to appraisal-related podcast in the world. The podcast with over 500 episodes, almost 1 million downloads. This is the Appraiser Coach Podcast. I am your host. My name is Dustin Harris. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about cat pee and what you do with it. Stay tuned. I want to pause and remind you that we are sponsored. Maybe they won't want to sponsor this particular episode, but we are sponsored today nonetheless by ANow Software. Folks, ANow is, by the time this airs, I believe Nexus, the next generation in appraisal software, will be out. This is your ability to do an appraisal from start to finish. Right there in the same program. That means mobile. That means back at the office. That means multiple people working on the same report at the same time. Check them out. Go to anow.com for more information. anow.com for more information. Folks, I've heard this or a version of this question tossed around since the first year I started appraising. In fact, I may have been the first one to ask it of my mentor. What do you do with cat pee? And it probably came from a misconception, and this is a misunderstanding on my part, or maybe it was mistaught in my very basic appraisal foundation and basics principles class in the very beginning as I became a trainee. I remember my teacher standing up and basically saying, we as appraisers cannot have opinions when it comes to the color of a room, for example. And I remember she gave the example of, if you've got a bedroom and it has shag carpet and it's bright orange, you cannot dock that appraisal or that value based on the color of the carpet. Now, folks, that's just dead wrong, first of all. Now, again, it may have been my misunderstanding. This was years ago. We tend to not remember exactly how things might have transpired. But I do remember that's the way it was taught to me, and that was my understanding walking out of the class. And the bottom line is, folks, if orange shag carpet makes a difference in value and you can support that in the marketplace, you absolutely not only can, but have an obligation to make an adjustment for it and to have it be reflected in the final value. But again, this is what's in my head. And so my thought process was, okay, well, isn't it the same with a smell? Isn't it the same with, for example, those who might smoke in the house? There is, whether you enjoy that or not, is not for me to say. I don't need to share an opinion on that. My point is, when you smoke in the house, smoke remains. And it gets in the carpet, it gets in the curtains, it gets in the walls, it gets in everything that's in there. It's very obvious when you walk into a house of an individual who chooses to smoke inside the house that there is a definitive smell there. It's not an easy smell to get out. The same is true, and I'm not comparing cigarette smoke with cat urine, but the same is true with cat urine. You walk into a house, there is a definitive ammonia. You know what I'm talking about, right? Your noses are all burning right now as you're driving down the road taking your comp pictures. You've all been there. We've all been there. Individuals that have, and I'm a dog person more than I'm a cat person, though I have both. We just got a new kitty at our house. Hi, Benji. Shout out. There is this definitive smell when you walk into the house to do the inspection. What do you do with that? Is that something you can adjust for? I mean, it's not something you can take a picture of. It's not something that you can point to and say, look, here it is. But it certainly is a thing. It is certainly something that affects you as an observation. I was going to say as an inspector, but as a real estate appraiser professional that's performing an observation, you have sensory that alerts you to this type of thing. And if it alerts you to this type of thing, by gosh, it's going to alert a potential buyer. Well, Dustin, I'm just doing a refi. But folks, remember, we're valuing this as if it were for sale as of the effective date. So we need to take these things into consideration. How do you deal with this problem? It's something we deal with quite frequently. Well, not frequently, but it happens on a regular enough basis that I think it's a question that all appraisers have. I want to pause here and answer another question that all appraisers should have, and that is, what software should I be using? Well, folks, there are many, many, many software opportunities out there, but if you want to manage your appraisal office, there's only one. It's called ANOW software, and it keeps track of everything that is going on in my business. It keeps track of the orders that I'm involved in. It keeps track of my clients. It keeps track of my stats. It keeps track of my appraisers. It keeps track of my appointments. I could go on and on and on. And now they have Nexus, which is the next generation, if you will, in appraisal software, where you can do everything from your desktop, from your mobile phone, from wherever you are. Check them out. Go to anow.com. Again, it's anow.com. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. We're talking today, I know, it's embarrassing, but we're talking about cat urine today. Yes, this episode is all about cat pee. That being said, what do you do with a house that smells bad? What do you do with something that you can't take a picture of? What do you do with something that, that's what we're used to, right? Whenever I have a potential problem, I take a picture of it. I label it. Trim issue, chipping, peeling paint, tripping hazard, missing handrail, whatever it is, sinkhole in the backyard. All of these things I can physically take a picture of, but I can't take a picture of cat urine. I can't take a picture of cigarette smoke. I can't take a picture of a smell. So because I can't take a picture of it, does that change the fact that it may affect value? And I would say, folks, that there is a strong possibility. Again, I don't work in your market. Maybe cat urine is standard in your market. I don't know. But I have a feeling that this is going to affect both the marketability and the value of a property. How do you know? Well, there's a couple of different aspects that you can look at. Remember, how do you know the adjustment for anything that we do in appraisal? There are so many ways to go about a potential issue. One of them is interviews. Folks, could you do the same for something like this? Hey, Mr. Realtor, this is Dustin Harris from Appraisal Precision. How are you? Good. Wonderful. We need to catch up. Let's get on the golf course soon. Hey, got a quick question for you. I'm putting together a quick survey. Don't worry, I don't need to use your name, but I just need your opinion. I'm curious, if you had two identical homes and one of them smelled like cat urine and one didn't, how much would you need to discount that on a percentage basis in order to sell it? Oh, I don't know, 10%. Great, thank you. Hi, Mrs. Realtor. This is Dustin Harris. Good to see you again. We need to catch up on coffee soon. I got a question for you, and we asked the question. Now, if you can interview, I think statistically 30 people is a pretty decent sample size, and you have a pretty good idea over what they might need to discount in order to, that is one approach to value. That's one approach to the problem. Another approach is to do your own, quote unquote, paired sales analysis. Now, I call it unpaired sales analysis because there's no such thing as paired sales analysis, right? Two identical homes, one has cat pee and one doesn't. Come on. And even if you found one sample, is that enough? Probably not. But you can, on a pretty decent basis, use this term we call sensitivity analysis, where after you adjust out all the other known factors, you've got what's left. Now, is it possible that you're not going to find many samples out there because who in their right mind as a realtor wants to put that in the listing papers? Probably. But folks, you have a plethora. If you're like me, you walk a lot of houses. Keep track. Those that are for purchases and have the distinctive smell that we're talking about that may discourage a potential buyer, keep track and see what that thing sold for as compared to some of the others that you've walked through. Here's the bottom line. At the very least, as an appraiser, I believe it is our responsibility to at least report what we find. Okay, now if you're doing a desktop, a drive-by, you're likely not going to have this information. But if you do have the information, it is your obligation, of course, to report it. And then, as an appraiser, it is your responsibility, your professional responsibility, to report on how that is affecting the marketability and the value of the home. And it may not, but it is also your responsibility to report on why it's not. Think through it. There, at the very least, needs to be a mention of a potential repair needed. Now, folks, this can be extensive. It may be slight. It may be simply changing the carpet in one room, might change the whole atmosphere. It might be that you need to change all of the carpet. It may need to be that you rip out all the floorboards. I've seen situations where individuals have had to tear out drywall because it was so permeated into the pores of the drywall that there was no way to get rid of a smell without doing so. Can you imagine the cost to a potential buyer or a potential seller in order to get that house ready to sell if they have to pull out all of the drywall and the floorboards and the floor coverings just to make it smell nice? Don't ignore it. Cat urine is not something you can ignore. Cigarette smoke, again, whether you like to smoke or not, this is totally beyond the point today. There is a potential impact on value, and it is up to us as appraisers to announce or to support and report our findings. Thank you for being a part of this great experience, folks. I hope you will join me on the All-Star team. We talk about things like this. Yes, we talk about cat pee, believe it or not. On a pretty regular basis, we talk about the things we encounter in our inspections and what to do with them, how to handle them. You ever had a question that you wish you could reach out to your peers on and say, hey, guys, what would you do in this situation? Well, we do it daily in the Appraiser Coach All-Star team. Join us, won't you please? on memberships, theappraisercoach.com. I hope your business continues to thrive, and I appreciate being a small part of it. We'll talk soon.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.